Hello, everybody. Welcome to the National Parents Union Nightly Restorative Check-In. I am Marisol Quevedo from San Diego, California. I am the grandmother to Isabela Luna and Cynthia Iliana. I am the granddaughter to Camerina, Alejandro, Francisco, and Carmen. I am the mother to Camerina, Emilia, and Sofia. And I am the daughter to Irma and Avran. I'm also the sister to Alex, Atia, and Cameron, and the very, 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 very proud wife to Daniel. Thank you for allowing me to introduce my family. It just always centers me, grounds me, and reminds me who I am, why I'm here, who I represent, and reminds me of all of the love, the challenge, the dignity, the honor, and the respect of my blood and those who have poured into me, those that have become my blood. And so I just always appreciate this moment to introduce myself in that way. So hello, happy Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, August 12th. And I have a couple of reminders before we go into our breathing technique. So I want to remind you to please go to the National Parents Union website. We are actively now starting to recruit members. So if you're interested, I get asked a lot, people wanting to learn more about NPU, and we now have our individual membership application available and our organizational application available. So please make sure to go onto the website, check those out. There is absolutely no fee. What this is about resources and support for you. So please check that out and become a member of NPU. Also, our Every Family Votes campaign, keep going to the website to look out for that. We have some really amazing merchandise, but what's more important than any of that is that your family votes. And we are using the Every Family Votes campaign because our vote is representative of our families. You know, my 14-year-old cannot vote, but she has a lot to say about who it is that we are voting for as a family. And so please make sure to check back the website for Every Family Votes. We have a really great toolkit that is in the finalizing stages that you can use in your community to get out the vote. Also, the grant for micro schools, pods, is available to families or organizations. You don't have to have a 501c3, which is phenomenal. The amounts are from $5,000 to $25,000, and you can find that application on the website. It's due, I believe, on Friday, but look on the website so you can find out for yourself. The other piece, I'm just looking over here, we also have a survey. It is crazy the things that we're hearing and that I'm hearing about all of the different ways that people are going, kids are going back to school, the communication or lack thereof, or confusion of that parents are getting. So we really want to gather information from you so that we can continue to mobilize and make our demands clear and support parents from across the US during this time. So the other thing, of course, like us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook, follow our National Parents Union page. You can follow me or friend me on my page, and all of our other hosts as well. So with that, those are really important reminders. But with that, let's get into our 4-7-8 breathing technique. So as, if you're new, or if you're not, you already know this, but I'm gonna give you the lowdown anyway. So for a second inhale, 7-second release, no, hold, sorry. For a second inhale, 7-second release, 8-second, woo! For a second inhale, 7-second hold, 8-second release. So we're gonna do this. We inhale for 4 seconds, I count. We hold for 7 seconds, I will do the count, and we will release for 8 seconds. Now, this strategy really helps center us and ground us, bring us to a place of, less stress, less peace, more focus, so that we can really enjoy the conversation that is going to be had. So I encourage you to do this outside of the show, at least once a day. You can do it at night if you're having trouble falling asleep, whatever, whenever it is that you might need that time to really go into a peaceful mode. So let's get started. I ask that you ground yourself by putting your feet down, or if you're sitting on the floor cross-legged, but ground yourself to the ground. Put your hands gently on your lap. Go ahead and lower your head, lower your gaze. You can close your eyes. Take a deep breath out. And inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you for joining me, and I encourage you to continue using that technique for yourself at any time. Center, ground you, bring you to peace, release your stress. If you find it helpful, use a timer. I use the timer on my phone or the computer to do this. So please continue this practice for yourself, for your health and your well-being, and also for that of the people around you that you love. So with that, I would like to introduce and bring in our guest. So tonight we have Maritza Gudibi, who's joining us. And I'm gonna wait a second. Let's see. Okay, I see you. I'm waiting till you come on the main screen. Let me flip back. Hello.
Good evening, how are you?
I am so happy to be with you. And I just have to say, that beautiful smile, after how many years of orthodontia?
Oh gosh, well this is my second round. I had it originally when I was very young, 12 years old, until I was like the first week in high school, and then with age things change.
Yeah.
And from what I was told, when I got my wisdom teeth removed, some shifting started to happen. So I got braces, adult braces, really, and I couldn't get the Invisaligns. They were like, no, you need the metal ones. So I've been dealing with that for almost 2 years, and I finally got them taken off 2 days ago.
Use your retainer, my friend.
Oh, it's on now. It's clear. They make them clear now. I was like, we've advanced, because there used to be that little weird wire and felt like, older people dentures or false teeth. But
yeah,
I got them on now, so it's great. Thank you.
So I just needed to say that. So Maritza, if you could please, I always have everybody introduce themselves. So share anything that you would like about yourself, about your family, about what you love, your passions, about your work. This is your opportunity to introduce yourself.
Thank you. Maritza Gudibi. I am first generation Dominican. My mother, Maritza Gudibi, just went back to DR today. Hopefully I'll talk to her a little later. I have a sister. I have one sister. She also lives in Philadelphia here with me. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am the mother of 6, 2 of which are currently our foster children. 1 we adopted last year. And I have 3 biological children, 30-year-old, 24-year-old, and 15-year-old. And the little ones are 6, and the final 2 are both 4. They might as well be twins because they're the same age, just 2 months apart. We have a beautiful puppy that she's huge, but she's only 9 months old, named Lilo. I'm a parent advocate. I love standing up for what's right, and I love helping those that are in need and don't have a voice.
And where are you in the world?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Were you born and raised?
No, ma'am. I was born in Brooklyn. Then when my parents split, I lived in the wonderful city of Passaic, New Jersey, up top, North Jersey. And then I came to Philadelphia when I was 19 years old, and I've been here ever since.
Amazing, amazing, yeah. Amazing. So you have that experience. You know, I had my comadre on Monday, and I had remembered, so she's a foster parent, but I had remembered you talking about your foster kids. For some reason, Maritza, it did not dawn on me that you had 6 children, and you have a 30-year-old child?
He just turned 30, yes. He just turned 30 last week.
You have grandbabies also? I
have a grandson, yes, named Caleb. He just turned 1 this past April. He's adorable. He's funny. Because of this COVID situation, he hasn't had much time since he started working to be around other children. So, they recently moved, and now, you know, they're closer to home. They're living on one of my sister's properties. So I went over there last week and spent Wednesday over there with him and my little ones, and he was just enthralled because he's like, these people are just about my height, so I can run around with them. And he experienced the pool for the first time, and he was looking at them like, why are you in my big bathtub? You know, it was just hilarious. We had and my mom got to see him, so she's around us, she's around the grandkids, and now her great grandson. So and mommy's 71, so she's seen a lot.
That is just, it's just so beautiful to be able to have your generations together, because that's the abuelita, you, your son, and that's 4 generations.
Yes. And mommy's abuela, I'm Gigi. I told them, I said, no. My sons call my mother abuela. I'm not going to have him call abuela twice, getting confused. Yo soy Gigi, and that's abuela. And he just looked at me. He's just like, Gigi. He grew up, you know, he hasn't really started talking yet, so he'll just like make a noise, like, which I think is hilarious. But we'll get him there. He'll be bilingual very quickly.
Well, and you have little ones. How do you do it? I need to know how you do it.
With the absolute 100% support of my husband, Kareem. We made a choice to open up our home. Mm-hmm. We have a big home comparatively to our friends. Our house is a 5-bedroom house in North Philadelphia. So we were like, we have the space, we have the time, we have the patience. And it's gonna go on 4 years now. We've been foster parents. And like I said, we just adopted our son Terrell. He is 4 now, but we had him at 11 months old.
Wow.
Yeah, the girls, they're sisters. They're 2 of 8 children, and unfortunately, their parents have gone through a lot, having 8 children right now, and we've had them over 2 years. So now we are starting the permanency process.
Okay.
So hopefully, if everything goes well, we'll be formally adopting the girls as early as this coming spring.
And that's a whole different, you know, being a foster parent is very different from moving from foster to adoption, because in the adoption, like, they are your children, they become your children. So all of the supports, all of the resources, right? Do they go away, or do some of them continue?
Everything continues.
That's awesome.
Yeah, everything continues. Anything they qualified for as a child in the system, they get until the age of 18. It all depends on the age when they're adopted. The younger children 5 and under, their support for services ends at 18. But okay, if you end up adopting an older child, 6 and up, it continues to the age of 21. And I mean, and I really know a lot of this, and I've had such a good experience with certain people that work in the foster care system, that I myself started to work in child welfare. So I had the pleasure of being what they call a resource parent support worker, which is basically the person that supports the resource parent, like their caseworker. Like, children have their own I became a caseworker for the parents, and I love the work. I used to work for an organization called Concilio. And my sister was inspired by what was going on in our family, that she also became a certified foster parent. And she's hoping to open, she already has the bedroom ready for whenever they call her and tell her, are you ready to, take a child into your home as well? So.
I don't know about the process there, but I know the process that my comadre de la tia had to go through. And it is not an easy process. They really, and I think a lot of that is because of the horrible things that have happened to kids in foster homes. But this is a total act of will. And I think also an act of love, because it's not, and the scrutiny, I think, of having people come into your home. And, I have just, it's not an easy decision to make, but it's such a decision for, again, that I see that's out of love.
It has to be. This is not for the money, because they do assist you with a stipend, but it's not something that you're going to get rich off of. It absolutely is not. And there are things in place to make sure that no one tries to take advantage of the system. Right. The visits into your home, they need to see that a child is sleeping in a bed, that there's food in the refrigerator, that they have clothing every change of season, that their hygiene is good, that their hair is done, or the boys get their haircuts. All those things are required. You have to have permission for certain things, even to give a child a haircut. You have to work with whatever agency you use in making sure that you work as a team, and not make things difficult, because if you make things too difficult, then they'll see that it's not a good fit, and they'll try to find another home for those children, which unfortunately, if that occurs, it's another trauma on top of everything else. Because the first trauma is the fact that they've experienced something with their own families that have caused them to be separated. And it's not an automatic thing. A lot of investigation happens beforehand, and a lot of interventions and resources are given to the biological families prior to a judge saying, yes, remove the children from the home.
So how did you made the decision because you have this blessing of having a big house where you had room, but really, like, what was it that made you and your husband make this decision to take on this responsibility?
Well, we saw that there was a need. We always wanted to expand our family. Mm-hmm. But years ago, I made a choice of not to physically carry any more children. Mm-hmm. And I said, listen, either you're gonna pay for it to get reversed, which was almost $20,000, or we're going to do something that's going to help others, which is foster children, because there's never a guarantee. Sometimes people have this image of, I'm going to get a baby, and it's going to be mine. Like, that is not true. We had a newborn in our home a couple of years ago. She was she was only 2 weeks old when we got her, and she was in our home for 9 days. We didn't sleep for 9 days because it was a newborn. But they said, because she is so young, we're trying to find family, we're trying to find kin that can take her in. And they were fortunate to have found a relative that can take that baby in. I wished her the best, but I was happy to sleep.
Yeah. Well, and you have parameters, like you can decide like what age groups you want to have come in, right? Yes, so after that, did you quickly take off newborns?
Yeah, you have to be 0 to 5. And then after that experience, we said, no, we can move it up to 9 months or 1 year old. When they're sleeping is a little bit more steady and not getting up every 2 hours. I said, we suffered, but it's worth it.
There's a show that that's on, it might be Netflix, but it's like the adoption journey. I don't know what it's called, but the kids are the ones who are actually selecting the parents. And I think it's in LA. And the first episode was a foster kid who was turning 18. So he was 17 years old and he really wanted to find a family. And I will tell you, so I was a high school teacher. but there is a space in my heart for those older kids.
It is so hard. It is so hard to place teenagers. It is so very hard. That is why when I was at Concilio, and my responsibility was, I was a resource parent coordinator. So part of my role was also to help find homes when children were brought into care. And I have to say I was a little bit biased because I paid very close care and attention for those foster parents that took in the teenagers. I made sure that everything was in place for them and that they got as much information as possible, because these children were the ones that have been in the system for an extended period of time. I mean, years. I only had one case of one young lady that she was already a teen, 15 years old, newly getting into the system. And it was her first experience, but the foster parent whose home I placed her in was a very experienced foster parent, had been doing it for many years. She only took teen girls. And I think they're going to be going through what's called PLC for legal guardianship. Not necessarily adoption, but that young lady did not want to go back to living with her parent, her father, because he was abusing her. And her mother is in Haiti with no way of coming into this country. So, and they talked. They've been able to talk. So when it's a good situation like that, when a child is safe, it's great. I've had parents that only take boys, and it's, I treat them with kid gloves too, whatever you need, At one point here, we had a sibling group of 3 and Terrell. So we had 4 foster children, and plus Mecca, my daughter Mecca. And that was an experience, but then things happened because unfortunately the sibling group, their mother had a lot of issues. And whenever visits occurred, she would say things to the eldest child. She would say things to him that unfortunately manipulated him, and he made an accusation. We went through that experience of dealing with a full-blown investigation, and that meant they pulled all 4 kids out in the middle of the night. And that caseworker was very nasty. She's still working for that same agency, but.
So when something like that happens, do they also interview your kids that you have in your house that are underage as well? Does it become a blanket report?
They did not speak to Mecca, but they could have. If it would have been something so severe that they would have also pulled her out of our home, we could have lost our daughter to the system as well. So it was 3 months of absolute agony for us. But fortunately, because we developed good relationships with all the parties involved, with the case management director, the case management supervisor, the resource parent support worker, they got to know us. We would always document everything that ever occurred. I mean, the first time we got a phone call saying they're going to pull the children, mind you, I had Terrell, who was 11 months old. The youngest of the sibling group was 9 months old. They both were not walking yet, so they're crawling in our home, crawling on the living room floor, and they bumped into each other. Their faces butted. The little girl, very, very, very fair-skinned. Mm-hmm. The minute they bumped heads, I immediately sent a text and an email to the caseworker. The babies that butted heads, she is going to have something on her face. 2 days later, after a visit, we get a call in the middle of the night, pick up the kids. Mind you, no one ever spoke to the caseworker supervisor. They just ran whatever the bio mom said at the visit, and they were ready to pull the kids. The second time around, it was something an accusation was that my husband put his hands on a child, and we're like, what? And it took us 3 months, 3 hard months to fight, and we eventually did not place the sibling group back with us, because when there's an accusation like that, the fear is that there'll be retaliation, which I totally understand. Yep. But we got Terrell back. And
now he's your baby.
That's my son. Yeah. That's mommy. My mother calls him Little Bull. She calls him Torito. That's her Torito. That's And when people ask, you know, the children bond, the two girls that are with us now, they bonded with our family. My mother is abuela, my sister is tia. You know, they see Mecca, Elijah, and Richard as their older sisters. They love Caleb. You know, they consider him, that's their little nephew. You know, Terrell says, I'm your little Theo. And they say, I'm your little Tia. You know, and he just looks at them like they're the kids, but they've bonded with us. You know, and hopefully it'll be permanent.
That's the, you know, I know that people, I feel like we separate sometimes this idea of family because of blood, because of the bond, but really, like, that's your family. That is your family. Punto final.
Yes.
Those are your children. That is their siblings. That is their abuela. That's their dad, their like, that's your family.
Yeah.
And how beautiful for your children, for all of them to see this gift of love and opening. There's this artist, I can't remember his name right now. I think it might be, I can't remember his name, but he would do a lot of art. He's a Black artist who did a lot of art for schools. And he had some really beautiful pieces, like older kids in libraries. But there's one piece that I bought from him years ago. Actually, it's the poster, and he signed it. And I gave it to my tia. And it's this Black woman, abuelita, with like her arms open thick, with her arms full of kids. And it said, the home of the heart is never full. And I think about that, like the home of your heart, which is your casa, it's never, there's space for everybody. There's space for love.
Everybody. And I mean, in our culture specifically, you know, our families have taken in, you know, niño de crianza. You know, we fostered for years. I mean, generationally, Black and Brown have always fostered other people's children when there was a need. So when we thought about it, it was like second nature to us. You know, my abuelita, she her name was Juana. She had she raised a little girl that was not hers, that was actually Haitian, and that was my tia Juanita. You know, and I was, you know, whenever we went over there, she was always there, and she was the person that took care of my great grandmother. So my mommy was like, no, it's not Juanita, it's mi tia. You know, she would always say that, that's my aunt. And you know, I was like, but whose daughter is she? She was like, no. Era de crianza, but she's family. She is family, and that's how it is.
And I think that's something that I think that we lost a little bit in some of the more that we stay, our families stay, you know, in different spaces or countries, is we lose that thing of the responsibility that we have for our family. Like, that's, you know, and there was a thing here I remember, so not in my family, but I remember other kids, like when they started acting up, they got sent to the rancho in Mexico. It's this community of responsibility of raising kids.
Yes.
And you know, and people talk about the good old days were in the neighborhoods, but it was true. Like, if you were acting up, a neighbor had full right to scold you. But it was that sense of community and responsibility. And if there was something that you had, then that meant that you had so that you could share. Yes. Not so that you could have just for yours, but so that you could share with somebody that didn't have. And I think that aside from just the thoughts of that being around food and clothing, but being around corazón, around heart, around family. You know, like, if your arms are big enough, there's room for another baby.
Yes.
You know, like the mama is here. It's just so beautiful. So you're older, so you have 6 kids.
Because I count them as mine, so they're all, you know,
they are yours.
School, and the other 3, they're still mine too.
So when did you become, so your parent advocacy, when did that start? Was it around, I'm sure now that it's around foster issues, you know, foster parent, foster students as well. But when did your parent advocacy start?
When I had my eldest, when I had Richard. I had Richard at 19. Advocacy as a whole for me started very young with my mother, because she was not into speaking. So my sister and I always had to translate for her. And, you know, I learned very quickly at a very young age how to balance a checkbook, how to pay bills, because mommy couldn't read English. So we had to read everything for her and write everything out for her. And whenever a letter came home from school, back then they didn't give us the respect of providing it in Spanish. They didn't give us the report cards in Spanish, the school notices in Spanish, nothing. So everything, even to the day she bought, I'll never forget it, she bought an SUV. And she didn't take us. She went with a person she considered a friend. And my mother was a firm believer in paying for things on her own. And the person that went with her did not tell her that what she was purchasing was a lease, not financing. So when she got home, and I was pregnant with with Richard, excuse me. I was pregnant with Richard. I was 7 months pregnant. She comes home to show me her beautiful brand new SUV. I'm looking at the contract. I said, Mama, this is a lease. You're renting this. We got back in the car, went back to the dealership. They tried to give it a runaround, and I definitely played the pregnant, angry woman card. And I said, if you do not rip this contract up and give her money back, you're gonna have to call the hospital because I am not leaving. And I was physically getting, they saw that I was getting very upset and they got very nervous. I said, if I end up having my baby prematurely, mind you, I was only 18. If I have my baby prematurely, I'm gonna own this car dealership. And back then I used to cuss so I was cursing them out in English and in Spanish. And she came home with her money back. And then the next day, I went with her to a different car dealership, and my mother she financed her vehicle the way she wanted to. They try to pull the wool over her eyes. But with Richard, I was a single mother, so it was just me navigating through things with him. Then when I had my second child, Richard was 6. Yes, Richard was 6. I had Elijah. Elijah ended up developing a stutter. So he qualified for some speech therapy. I had to advocate for that. Down to and then when my Elijah was getting older, and then I had Mecca, and she was starting in school. At that point, I had her father help me with some things, but I was always the one that was very vocal about their education and or lack of what they were receiving, and making sure that they did get certain things that they did deserve to have. And then when my younger son Elijah was at a charter school, he went to Simon Gratz Mastery Charter High School, which used to be considered one of the most dangerous high schools in the city of Philadelphia. It was what was deemed a turnaround school. So when the charter company came in, they made a lot of changes. I was a very vocal parent. I ended up being a part of their parent organization. I became president of the parent organization. My son had a very successful, what I call, high school career. I was still in the neighborhood. I still live in the neighborhood, so I was still able to go into the school for community meetings. And someone from Mastery, because they knew me as a parent, they didn't know Maritza, so they were like, do you have a degree? And I was like, yes. And then they said, then you're bilingual, 100%. And they said, well, there's an opportunity in Camden, New Jersey, and they're looking for what's called a community advocacy manager. And basically my role was to develop parent leaders. So when my son was going to Mastery, a person who I consider my mentor, he actually had a conversation with me to get to know me. So he taught me the art of a one-on-one conversation and get to know a person. So, and we've been friends ever since. I could call him tomorrow and be like, hey, I need your advice on something. And he's right there. And he helped me, guided me through the process of doing that. And I helped do that in the city of Camden because I helped introduce and establish the footprint of that school in the city of Camden, which is very, very small, very, very tight-knit. But it reminded me a lot of the city I grew up in Passaic, New Jersey, that everybody knew each other. So being there, I was very comfortable. I loved working there. I met a lot of amazing people. I don't know if you remember from the conference, Shirley Irizarry and Brian Morton from Camden. So,
Brian was on the show.
Yeah, so I got to work with them and spend some time with them. My role changed a bit. I was still doing developing parent leaders, but then I also got more involved in enrollment. So I was the lady with the blue shirt that had a team of folks canvassing the streets of Camden and enrolling students in English and in Spanish and letting them know about the schools and how great they were, about my experience. I brought Elijah over to talk about his experience. I said, here, talk to one of the former students. And he let them know, and he got to learn what it's like to be canvassing and advocating and talking about. So, I get my kids involved in what I do. They've seen it. Every, school board meetings, we were there. I was there speaking and talking about not only our successes, but also our areas of opportunity. And we have many of them still here in the city of Philadelphia.
And so with all that you give, because you give a lot, everything that you're talking about it's the way that you show up in the world. And I think it's with that heart of compassion and community and service to others. What are the things that you do to nourish yourself and to take care of yourself? And I want you to answer that also with this, with the real sense of the world, with the real sense, how do you do that as an Afro-Latina in this world, and all that you do?
Well, since there are so many things in life that we cannot control,
yeah,
the one thing that I can control is my kitchen. So cooking for me is part of my self-care, my therapy, because I decide the ingredients, I decide the temperature, how it's going to look. I can tell just by the smell, without even having to taste, how things are going, how things are coming along. Aside from that, music is a very big part of what I use to calm myself, to give me energy, to get me hype when I'm working out. Yeah. The drive today from the airport, it was about an hour and a half drive, and I'm listening to Luis Miguel, classic boleros the whole time, and just zooming down the highway. To my music has always been something that, as a whole, has always calmed me and made me happy. One of my earliest memories of my parents were them dancing and me standing on my papi's feet as he's dancing with my mother, and I'm just looking up at them like, they're dancing. So it's music, cooking. I think an exercise has really helped me a lot. A lot. Because I learned many years ago, I'm an emotional eater. So if I'm stressed or I'm upset or I'm angry, I used to eat a lot. And then I made a choice after my dad passed away, because my father was not a heavy man, but he had very bad eating habits. So when he passed away as a result of his very poor diet, I made a choice to change. And I got the gastric bypass, and I lost almost 100 pounds. Because at my heaviest, I was 300. Yeah.
Wow. When did you do that? When did you make that choice?
Back in 2008.
Okay.
After my dad passed away, I was, the doctor was telling me, you're just on the cusp of being pre-diabetic and of having hypertension. And I said, what, back then I was still a single parent. And I said, I have to make sure that I'm here for my children. And I made a choice to be healthier. And my diet changed significantly, and still cooking the same kinds of things, but just differently. Because we all like our certain foods that we grew up with. Yeah. I still eat my tostones, and I still eat my carne frita, but it's not an everyday thing. And then I made certain changes for the better.
And I think you also can learn some ways of making those foods that are that still have all the taste, all the sabor, all the sazon, but without all of the fat,
yes.
of the sugar.
Yes, my air fryer is my best friend.
Oh, I've heard. I don't have an air fryer, but I have heard amazing things. Yeah. Heard amazing things, and I love the pictures that you post of your food.
Oh,
so yeah, girl, I've seen your food. I stalk you, and I know. So your sister's name is Marisol, and I've gotten a couple of texts sometimes because just it happened. But I don't know. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why I was up, but I was like, girl, Why you at the store and why you texting me from the store?
Yeah, it's our names. Maritza and Marisol. Wherever I've been, we've been the only ones. So whenever I ran into a Maritza or Marisol, I never forget them.
Yeah.
So when I met you in New Orleans, I was like, I'm never gonna forget her because of your name.
Yeah.
My mom is Maria Gracia, but there's so many Marias. Oh my God, you run into a Maria everywhere you go.
Yeah.
But Maritza and Marisol is not a common name. Even in our culture, it's not common.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm lucky to run across any of them, and I'll never forget any of them.
So you did not meet your husband. You guys tell me that story.
Okay.
Because what I'm gathering, you had your kids, you guys met, you had already, so this was, so you said you were single when you had your gastric bypass. So.
Well, he and I met through when we worked together at the same job. Mm-hmm. And we were friends. We became very good friends, and things developed. And
So what year are we talking?
Oh, wow. Elijah was 5. He's 24 now. So it was
2001.
Well over 15 years ago. We've known each other almost 20 years. So I didn't let him meet my children until we were like 9 months in. He didn't even get to meet my sons. I was very protective of that. I guess because my mom, when my parents split, she never, if there was anyone she was involved with, she did not expose her daughters to any men.
Yeah.
Until she became serious with my stepfather. That was the only man that I knew she brought home. They were involved in a very serious relationship for several years. From the time I was 12 to the time I was 18, they were together. So I took that as an example. No one's gonna have the perfect life, the perfect marriage, but if things, if you separate and you end up being single, just be very careful who you bring your children around. And I was very cautious in that way. I took precautions with that. We met, things evolved. We planned Mecca. So it was something where we planned her, we had her, but something changed in the relationship. We actually separated while I was pregnant with our daughter. And but I still wanted to make sure he was part of that process, part of the gift of pregnancy. He was there every single day I saw his face. And it took us some time to forgive, mature, and let go of some things, and we reconciled. And we reconciled and got married a year later, so we've been married going on 8 years. And he's my biggest supporter. I mean, I wouldn't be able to go to all the school board meetings, the conferences, the anything if I didn't have his support. If I didn't know, he said, listen, I'll take care of home. You go ahead and fight for the kids. Go ahead and do it.
What has he taught you?
Patience. And learning to let go of some certain situation. I've tried because I was a single parent for over 20 years. So it was just me handling everything, every crisis, every doctor's appointment, everything that came up, I had to handle. And then I learned that when you have a partner that is supportive and cares for you, you can grow together and you can thrive together and enrich each other's lives. And and we take separate vacations. People need a break. Yeah, he's had trips with his friends. I've had trips with my girlfriends, and then we take trips together. But sometimes we need that break. And better.
What you're describing is like two whole individuals that have come together to build and share a relationship in a marriage. Yeah. And so like when you're two whole people, then that makes perfect sense. Because there's the unit, there's the marriage, the relationship, and that unit and that partnership that you have, but that doesn't define who you are as people. Exactly. It's a part, right? So what has he, or what do you hope he's learned from you?
Oh gosh. Well, he's learning Spanish, definitely. And surprisingly, my family still gets surprised when they see that he eats the same foods that we eat.
Hmm.
Like, really? He likes tostones, and he likes moro de guandules, and he likes rabo de vaca. And I'm like, yeah. I'm fortunate he's not a finicky eater. I'm very fortunate. He says that's one of the reasons why I got with you, because I realized you knew how to cook. If you didn't cook, I wouldn't be with you. I don't care how pretty, how cute you were, or what you look like, or what you dress like. If you didn't cook, I was not going to be with you. He's very adamant about that. Yeah. I mean, when I had my gastric bypass, we were not together. So he said, it didn't matter to me what you looked like. I loved you for you. Yeah. He actually didn't like it when I lost weight. So he doesn't like it if I lose weight now. He's like, you're getting too skinny. Stop working out so much. And I'm like, okay. But he's a gym rat. So I'm getting too skinny, but he's getting, like, his arms are like huge pythons that can scare people. And he has a very commanding, imposing presence. So when people see us together, it's like, wow, two very powerful people. And we try to, and I've had to learn how to tone myself down a little bit and modulate my voice, because I'm a tall woman. I'm 5'8" comparatively to other women. And he's 6 feet. My sons are 6 feet. My daughter is just as tall as me. Terrell's going to be the only little one in the family, because his parents were very short in stature. So, but he's going to be a powerhouse just because of his personality. And we're seeing it now.
Mm-hmm. And his family, look who his family is. He can't help but be a powerhouse.
Everybody, Mecca is amazing. Elijah and Richard, my son Richard he's amazing. He's an amazing father. I'm so proud of him. He's an amazing husband. Hi to Stephanie. They are really amazing as young parents. They are what I hope I may have been at their age, not struggling, but they whatever struggles they go through, they're going through it together as a family unit. Well,
and they're a little older than you were, right? Because he's 30. They were parents at like 29, and you were a parent at 18, 19.
Yes, absolutely. When that happened, and I was raised in a household, my mother didn't play that. When she found out I was with child, she said, you know what you got to do, right? You have to leave my house.
Only one queen.
So I had to leave. And then, funny enough, 9 months later, my sister was pregnant. So my son and my nephew are 9 months apart. And my mother was like, you think it's not going to happen to you, Iha? You got to go too. So we both had to grow up very quickly. And because of that, I made a choice to maintain communication with my children. She only knew what she knew. And back in those days, you didn't do anything until you were part of a marriage. Mm. And me in Spanish, metí la pata, so I had to pay the consequences.
Yeah. I was 19 when I had Camerina, and she was 6 months old when I got pregnant with Emilia, so I turned 21. But I will tell you, everything that I am as a woman is because I became a mom. And when you become a parent, for me, becoming a parent at that age, my change and my growth has, I think more like in my mid to late 30s. I'm 46, but having that, because I'm having to come into myself and meet myself as an adult without that mom title. So making that shift from being so focused and on my children, and learning how to really learning who I am, I think, aside from being a mom, being somebody's mom. But I would trade, there is nothing I would trade to have a different life or to have made different choices.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, I guess I'm very fortunate that, especially being a mother of Black sons, I consider myself very fortunate that they've never been through the justice system. They're good. They've been good. They're good men. They're good men now. I do credit my husband for helping me with them, because he helped me a lot. You know, that's my step pop. You know, so and it's great. You know, and it hasn't been easy. You know, no relationship is easy. There have been days when I told my husband, I can't stand you, but I love him. So, and there are days when he tells me, you're talking too loud, you're yelling. I said, no, I'm not doing that. We all talk loud. You met me as a loud woman, so deal with it. So it's, you know, everything has its ups and downs, but I can honestly say a lot more positives than negatives. And we've gotten to know each other to the point where we know when we need to be each other's support.
And you know, you mentioned love, and I think it's, again, my children have been my greatest teachers, but love is not easy. Love is not, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love the memories of those first loves and those first, like all that emotion and that, like, 'cause it's beautiful. But like love, you really love, that's doing and making the commitment to do the hard work. Yes. Because in order to really love somebody else, you got to love yourself. And to love yourself, you got to know yourself. And to know yourself, you got to dig in and dig into all of your stuff, like all the things that are keeping you from being the best human being that you can be. You know, and that stuff, there is nothing easy about it. And there is nothing easy about loving teenagers. I'm sorry.
No. No.
You know, because the little ones are so cute and they're so loving, and like desmadrosos, you know, they're traviesos, or, you know, whatever, however it is that they're acting or behaving, they can just look at you and done.
Oh, with teenagers, as soon as you hear that first, the sucking of the teeth or the rolling of the eyes, woo! I mean, I did it with my sons, and I dealt with it from, I guess, trying to understand a young man's mind, because I'm not a man. But my daughter, she's like, I'm not going to say she's a little me, but she reminds me so much of how I was at that age. And the one thing that I can say is that, fortunately, I am able to communicate more with her than my mother was able to communicate with me and my sister. So she and I have the deepest conversations, and she can come to me with anything. And so I knew about her first crush. I knew about her first heartbreak. I know now, you know, I know about who she has a crush on now, you know, and I think it's sweet, you know, and I remind her of things, you know, and I tell her things, and she just looks at me like, Mom, for real? I said, no, I'm telling you the real deal. I remember when I was 15 and stuff going through my head, and how easily I was influenced by hearing a little girlfriend of mine talking about her experiences, that I started doing things at an early age. So I told her, I want you to take your time, enjoy being young, enjoy being free of commitment, and just do you. Don't worry about anybody else. Even with the foster kid, when we got into foster care, we sat her down and said, you are not a parent. You are a child. We will never ask you. We're not going to parentify you.
Yeah, we're the parents. We got this.
Yes, we got this. We got it. I mean, unfortunately, my eldest son helped me out a lot. He helped me change Mecca's diapers. So that's why he was great with his son, because he already experienced it.
I always say I think there's a piece when you're like being that age that you grow up with your kids.
We did.
Like and the only reason I think that I was able to finish school at that age and get my bachelor's and my master's is because I didn't know any better. I would not be able to do that now. But when you're that young, like, you just don't know any better. Garrett, I want to change I just want to ask you something for curiosity.
Sure.
I love, so you're in a book club.
Yes.
I love how much you love the book club. Tell me, like, can you just talk about like what, like, just because I don't talk about that on the show, but just I love I just want to know, like, what is it about it that really like speaks to your heart and your soul and your energy? Because it's really beautiful.
Because I love to read. I've always loved to read. And the fact that there are other people that are reading the same thing that I'm reading, I've never been a part of that. I mean, I've heard of book clubs. So when you talked about it, I said, oh, I want to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make time to do it. And the fact that we're able to openly, in a safe space, discuss the book. The fact that it's that particular book.
You can talk about it. I just don't talk about it. So if you want to share what it is.
Yeah. So it's the fact that we're talking about white fragility, and the fact that the members of the book club are majority of the members of this particular book club right now are white. I'm finding it very fascinating because I've never really had the opportunity to get that deep. Never. I mean, like I mentioned, I've worked for Fortune 500 companies in the past, and we never got deep into those conversations. Everything was very, very superficial. And this gives me like more insight and allows me to express more empathy. Because that's one thing that I haven't seen. There's a lot of hatred towards people, but I have yet to see people truly empathize. Because I don't need your sympathy, but I need you to try to understand me. And me sharing my experiences helps anyone else understand what we're going through. I think that's awesome. It's an awesome opportunity to effectuate change. It absolutely is.
Well, and I think the other thing that you were hitting on was also the opportunity to, because race in the white culture is not something here in America that they really talk about. So like to be able and to have people share the things that they're sharing and the awareness that is starting to blossom. That is a gift. That is a gift.
It absolutely is. And my hope is that in going through that experience together, they will then also in turn try to explain to their peers, their family members, their children, grandchildren, that some of the things that we're seeing, it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay. And you can never think it is just because it's not happening to you.
Yeah.
Because believe me, if it did happen to them, oh my. I mean, things that happened to me in my past would have very easily said to me, I'm going to change. Because I know Latinos that are very racist, that do not acknowledge that part of them, that part of their ancestry that is African. They deny it. They're in complete denial about it. I'm Spaniard. But they don't, but I'm like, but we're black. Look at your skin.
Yeah.
You're not white. That's why I say, and I say it all the time. My father was the most racist man I ever knew in my life. So he and I, we had debates. We had arguments. My husband almost jumped my dad because of a nickname. He would call Elijah negro because he was darker skinned. He was like, "Ese mi negro." So my husband, the first time he heard it, we were just dating. The first time he heard my father address his grandson as negro, he thought he said nigger. And I had to explain to him, no, that's like you have a friend, a very good childhood friend, his nickname is Black. That's his nickname. It's the same thing. So it took a very long time for me to explain that to my husband because he was very upset. He thought it was very derogatory. He didn't understand that it was a term of endearment. But through that conversation, I told my father, his name is Elijah. Call him by his name. Especially in his presence, because you could see how upset he was. He does not understand it, and my father was never going to change. So he at least conceded to not calling his grandson by the nickname that he gave him out of love, so that he wouldn't insult the person I was seeing.
Well, there was something I had read, I can't remember what book, but I don't remember, but just also I think that happens in our culture that we allow, which is calling each other a name that could be seen, and not that negro is derogatory at all, but like gorda, like fatty. You know,
They
like
used to be called that. Gorda. All of my cousins, my tío that one his children would call me Gorda. 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 And it would just like, I left it alone because they're my family, but I hated it. It made me feel bad. But when I lost my weight, it was so funny. They saw me. Oh, we can't call you Gorda anymore. I said, no, Maritza, okay? They don't call me Gorda anymore because I'm not. But yeah, and people still do. I mean, my best friend, her family calls her Gorda, and because that's their term of endearment for her, and she allows it. But you like it, I love it. So.
Well, and you know, at any point in our life and our growth, because we never stop growing, right? We're never there. We never reach that point. We have that opportunity to change and let people know, you know, like, it was okay. You know, I made it okay by not saying anything, but I'm saying something now. Maritza, time's up.
I know.
Time is up.
I know, like it's almost that time. Oh.
Well, you've been up since 2 o'clock in the morning, so you need to go.
Yeah, I do, and it's off for the races again tomorrow because my gallitos, my little roosters, they're up every day by 6, no matter what.
Thank you for being on with me tonight.
Thank you for letting me be on with you tonight.
Oh, no. I'm going to make sure that you come back on because we have so much more to talk about. I know we do. We have so much more to talk about. So I'm going to say goodbye from here. So thank you, Maritza, for being with us. Everybody, don't forget, Dr. Anjali will be with you on Friday, and I will see you next Monday. Please know that you are loved. Please know that you are prayed for always. Adios. Good night. Okay. Thank you.